On today's episode, I'll react to Scott Wheeler's latest mock draft and we'll dish out my top 30 draft rankings.
You're Locked On Blackhawks, your daily podcast on the Chicago Blackhawks, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's going on, Blackhawks fans? Welcome back to another episode of Locked On Blackhawks, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Real quick off the top, just a reminder to everyone watching on YouTube right now to do me a favor. Please go and hit that like button, comment down below, and subscribe to Locked On Blackhawks on YouTube if you haven't done so already. That's the best way that you can go and show some support, all of which is 100% free. I'm currently on the climb to 2,000 subscribers. I'd really like to reach that milestone before training camp gets underway in the fall. So if you're a first-time viewer or even if you're just someone who hasn't subscribed yet, please just go and hit that button for me. It won't cost you anything and really does go a long way for yours truly. Last but certainly not least, got to let you all know today's episode is sponsored by FanDuel. Sign up today and visit fanduel.com/lockedon to get $150 worth of bonus bets guaranteed. All right, good afternoon, everyone. As always, thank you all again for joining me on another episode of Locked On Blackhawks, your one-stop shop for all things Chicago Blackhawks. It is draft week, folks. Oh, baby, just 3 days away from the 2024 NHL Draft getting underway at the Sphere in Las Vegas, Nevada. Of course, our Chicago Blackhawks hold the second overall pick. There's been much discussion over the last few weeks. It's even gotten ramped up, it feels like, recently, between what they're going to do with the second overall selection. After Macklin Celebrini hears his name go first, are the Hawks going to go with Belarusian defenseman Artem Levshinov, Russian forward Ivan Demidov? Seems like those are the only two real candidates still in the mix. Now that we're down to 3 days until the draft, Blackhawks fans, I know there's been a lot of opinions varying back and forth, a lot of different tidbits that have kind of dropped on us over the last couple of weeks. Now that we're 3 days out, go and drop in the comment section who you would like to see the Blackhawks take, not only with the second overall pick, but who's the prospect you would like to see them select at number 18 should they stay home with that pick, should Kyle Davidson not move up, which we have seen him do since he's taken over as general manager, tried to do it last year. So I certainly think that's in the cards as well. But my, oh my, what a big next, 4, 5, 6 days here for the Blackhawks and the 31 other teams around the NHL. Not only do we have the draft on Friday, but free agency is going to follow suit the following Monday right after. And because the Stanley Cup went on so long, NHL general managers really couldn't wait any longer to get some of the dominoes to start falling. So we've seen some players getting re-signed over the last couple of days. We've seen some trades go down. Rucker McGroarty, of course, the news of him. There's a lot going on in the hockey world right now. And I do want to apologize for not having a show come out yesterday. Honestly, it was my father's birthday and I was just really fatigued after a weekend to celebrate, and if you know what I mean. So I dropped the ball a little bit on that, but I'm going to grind super hard for you all. It's a big week for the Blackhawks, big week here for the show. I'm going to be dropping another episode later on here this evening. I'm also going to be having an episode come out on Saturday. Following the first round, I'm going to be reacting to who the Blackhawks take in the first round, and then also doing a preview episode for the second day of the draft and talking about who I'd like to see the Hawks maybe take at number 34 or number 50. Also, real quick off the top, got to give a couple of congratulations here. First off, to Armando Velez, my good buddy, the host of Locked On Panthers. We both have been hosts of our shows for a long time now, and going back to the COVID-shortened 2021 campaign in which the Blackhawks and the Panthers were in the same division and played each other, I think, 8 times in that 56-game schedule. I got very acquainted with Armando, and it's been a beautiful friendship that we've established. And not this past season, but 2 seasons ago, he actually flew up from Florida with some of his buddies, brought his Miami Dolphins crew with him up to Soldier Field and watched the Bears and the Dolphins go head-to-head at a noon game. It was really fun to be able to meet him in person, and now from afar to go and see his team after falling short last year, go and go and do it in such dramatic fashion after blowing a 3-0 lead to the Edmonton Oilers. They find a way to get it done on home ice in Game 7. Sam Reinhart with the game winner, about to get an extra little chunk of change in his bag. That certainly doesn't hurt. But congratulations to the Florida Panthers. An epic series with the Edmonton Oilers. Definitely stings for Connor McDavid, especially considering he wasn't able to put a point up on the board in Game 6 or 7. Neither was Leon Draisaitl. You tell NHL fans those two stats in Game 6 and Game 7, and most are going to say, well, the Edmonton Oilers didn't win. They needed more out of those guys. Connor McDavid still goes on to win the Conn Smythe for the unbelievable postseason numbers that he put up, but a huge congratulations to Armando Velez and Florida Panthers for being the 2024 Stanley Cup champions. I expected them to steamroll through Edmonton. That's what I said in my preview of this matchup. They did through three games, but boy, things got a lot more dicey than anyone on that Panthers team, anyone on that Panthers staff or in that organization or any Panthers fan would have wanted. But I think that's also what kind of makes it a little bit sweeter now that they got it done. So congrats to Armando, congrats to the Florida Panthers, and a congratulations to Blackhawks legend Jeremy Roenick. JR finally gets his time. Announced that he has been inducted into the Hockey Hall of Fame earlier today, along with Pavel Datsyuk from the Red Wings, Shea Weber, but so well-deserved for JR. And I know there are a lot of Blackhawks fans, don't mean this in a negative way, a little bit older than me. I didn't grow up in the JR era, but he had his fingerprints all over their hockey fandom and their love for the Chicago Blackhawks. He's such a great dude. There's so many funny and cool stories about Jeremy Roenick from over the years. A great prankster, but a great guy. And thinking about him still crying after the Blackhawks won their first Stanley Cup in 2010, just saying, it's the Chicago Blackhawks. That's what I'm crying. It's awesome that JR finally gets his day. So congratulations to Jeremy Roenick. I know that's a lot off the top, but it's been a couple of days since I've spoken to you all. The Stanley Cup wrapped up. So I had to get into that first and foremost. But what I want to get into here now, part one, finally, Blackhawks fans, I know you all have been waiting for this. I'm going to unveil my top 30 rankings for the 2024 NHL Draft. And later on this week, probably Thursday, I'll be unveiling my full first round mock draft as well. So make sure to stay tuned for that. Another reason to subscribe if you haven't done so already. But I know people have been waiting a while for my rankings, and I just had some more prospects to dive into. I had some more guys to research. I know it's coming probably a little bit later than some of you wanted, but I honestly didn't feel comfortable dropping a list or putting something out there unless I had the full knowledge on all of these guys. And the reason, by the way, that I'm cutting it down from 30 to 32 is I really only feel confident in my top 30, maybe even only like my top 28. Anything after that in this draft really feels like it's up for grabs. But without any further ado, here are my top 30 rankings for the 2024 NHL Draft. At number 1, surprise, surprise, it's Macklin Celebrini. At number 2, I have Ivan Demidov. I think undoubtedly, if he clicks, he's going to be the second best player or the first best player of this draft. He has that type of talent, that type of offensive makeup, that type of creativity. He's bigger than, folks expected when they saw him at the combine in Florida. He's got some good size to him. He's in really good shape, and sounds like he's going to be coming over to North America, kind of like we're seeing from Matvei Michkov now that his KHL contract is expired. How does that 7th overall pick look a year removed for the Philadelphia Flyers now? So I have Demidov at number 2. Coming in at number 3, I have Artem Levshinov. I do think he is the top defenseman of this draft class right here, right now. And I do think among those top 6 defensemen, the big 6 in the first round, I do think Levshinov is going to be the safest among them. I think he is a very secure pick. I think he's going to be a top 4 NHL defenseman who's going to play for a long time. He's a solid defender. He has a good frame. He has good puck moving abilities. I don't necessarily think he has the highest ceiling of these defensemen, but I do think he is the safest one to be a surefire, bona fide second pairing staple defensive defenseman with top pairing upside as well. So I have Levshinov coming in at number 3. Now this is where things get interesting. For me, at number 4, a guy who could fall out of the top 10, I have Berkeley Catton. I think if you remove the size, Berkeley Catton there's a case for him to be the second most talented player in this draft class. His offensive abilities are unbelievable. His vision and his patience and his game recognition. I mean, in the clip that I shared on the YouTube channel, I even compared it to Patrick Kane like, and I know that's high praise, but that's how much I like Berkeley Catton's game. I have him at number 4. At number 5, I have Zeev Buium, the second defenseman in this year's draft. He's a gamer. He's a winner. He's going in the top 10. At number 6, I have Caden Lindstrom. Excellent combination of size and skill with good skating ability. Yes, there are some concerns about the back and the wrist as well. I think if he makes the NHL, if all goes well, he's going to be a very, very good top 6 forward, good power forward type of mold that skates really well and has good hands and instincts around the net. He's going to be a good complementary piece. I do see him as more of a winger potentially, though, at the next level. I have Lindstrom at number 6, though. Number 7, Sam Dickinson, third defenseman for me in this class, kind of like Levshinov. I think he's very safe. He's got a booming slap shot, likes to get aggressive on the rush, but I think is a really good defender as well when he is in the right positions. I could see Sam Dickinson being a second pairing, 1B type of guy that plays for a long, long time. At number 8, I have Cole Eiserman, baby. Goals don't lie. It's what the sport is all about. And yes, there are questions about if he doesn't score goals, well, what is he? Yeah, there are concerns there. I don't see how his release doesn't translate to the next level. It is unbelievable, the power and the wrister that he has, and the way that he's able to receive passes. Best I've ever seen from a 17, 18-year-old. I have Cole Eiserman in my top 10. At number 9, I have Tej Aginla, the son of Jerome Aginla, great power forward who has a booming shot. I mean, the puck just jumps off of his stick. Very interested to see if he goes number 9 to the Calgary Flames. And then to round things out in my top 10, I have Zane Parekh, who might have the most runway and the highest ceiling of any defenseman, but there are concerns about the size, the defensive game. I even think his shot, even though he scored almost a crap ton of goals in the OHL this past season. I don't know if I think Sam Dickinson might have the more translatable shot between the two because of the power and the slap shot. And Zane Parekh scored a lot of goals from in tight, not from very far out near the blue line. So I have Parekh at number 10. At number 11, I have Anton Salayev, who could wind up being a steal in this draft. I have dubbed him the biggest wild card in this year's draft. Could even go number 3 overall, potentially, to the Anaheim Ducks. There are a lot of rumors there. You see the size, you see the skating ability. I just don't see the offensive abilities really ever being there to be like a Victor Hedman type defenseman. I think he could be a really safe defensive defender. I just don't know if he offers all that much on the offensive side of things. At number 12, I have Beckett Seneca, someone who is having a huge boom to their draft stock and could even go inside the top 5. There have been some rumblings there. At number 13, I have Carter Yakimchuk, big right-handed defenseman that could creep into the top 10 himself. At number 14, I have Liam Greentree. I am very high on Greentree, a lot higher on him than most scouts and analysts are, but I think he's going to be a very good player and has all the intangibles. The only concern is about his skating. If he can develop that over these next couple of years, I think he has all the tools to be a really sneaky mid-round pick in this year's draft. At number 15, Trevor Connolly. I love his skills. I think he has translatable abilities. There's just some concerns with the off-ice stuff that's likely to have him fall further than where I have him ranked right now. At number 16, I have Konsta Helenius out of Finland. 17, I have Tarek Parasak. There are some folks who have him in this range. I think his abilities are unbelievable, man. I'm really high on Tarek Parasak. 18, I have Michael Hage. 19, Michael Branzeg-Nygaard, who has been mocked to the Blackhawks twice. I've revealed 2 mock drafts here on the show. They've selected him at number 18 at 2 different times. At number 20, Igor Chernyshov out of the KHL. 21, EJ Emery out of the United States Development Program. I think if the Blackhawks do take Demidov too, EJ Emery could be a sneaky contender to be on their radar at number 18. At number 22, Sasha Boisvert out of Muskegon in the USHL. There have been rumors of he and the Blackhawks potentially at number 18. At 23, I have Emil Hemming, goal scorer out of Finland. 24, Jet Luchenko. 25, Stian Solberg, who's been mocked a couple of times to the San Jose Sharks at number 15. 16, Cole Baudouin out of the Barrie Colts in the OHL. 27th, Adam Jiricek, younger brother of David Jiricek out of Czechia. 28, Charlie Elik, big right-handed defenseman who I think could be on the Blackhawks radar at 34 if he makes it that far. At 29, I have Ryder Ritchie out of the WHL. And then rounding things out at number 30, it's Big Dean Letourneau, baby. 6'7" forward who played college in Canada, put up some unbelievable numbers there. I'm higher on him than some folks. I know there are a few giving him first-round grades, a lot of polarizing opinions on him. He could either go late in the first or in the middle of the third. I think someone is going to be intrigued enough by his size and skill combo and think he could be the next Tage Thompson. So I ultimately expect him to go in the first round, and I have him rounding out my top 30 here for the 2024 NHL draft. So Blackhawks fans, there it is for you. My top 30 in order. That's how I have them ranked. Go and jump in the comment section. Let me know what you think about this ranking. Do I have someone in particular too high, too low? Am I missing someone completely here in my top 30? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section. But that's going to take care of my top 32 rankings for the 2024 NHL draft. Coming up in just a moment, I still have to get into Scott Wheeler of The Athletic's latest mock draft. But first, I got to talk to you all about the fine folks over at FanDuel. Baseball season has now taken over. We have wrapped up the Stanley Cup playoffs. The NBA finals are over as well. But FanDuel is your perfect place to go and bet on every single baseball game. And if you're a new customer, go and visit fanduel.com/lockdown right now to get $150 worth of bonus bets guaranteed. Yes, you heard me right. That's $150 whether your first bet is a win or a loss. And you can use these bonuses to bet on everything from whether you're a Cubs fan, home runs down at Wrigley Field, or if you're a Sox fan, home runs over at Guaranteed Rate. You can fade the Cubs, you can fade the Sox, because both teams are not playing very good baseball right now, and I refuse to watch the Cubs play until they get a better bullpen, and maybe fading them is the right call. You can go and fade the Chicago Cubs if you think that's the play. If they're winning after 5 innings, you can go and live bet with them with your bonus bets as well. You can use these bonuses to bet on everything. Money lines, player props, over-unders, all on an app that's safe, secure, and super easy to use. So what are you waiting for? Go and make your first bet an automatic win by visiting fanduel.com/lockedon. Again, that's fanduel.com/lockedon to get $150 worth of bonus bets if you're not already signed up. FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Segment 2, another mock draft to bring up here on the show. We are only 3 days away. I've already gone over Corey Pronman's mock draft and McKean's Hockey's mock draft as well here on the show. And I do think it's worthwhile going through these again. These are the best scouts and analysts in the business. A lot of them have been doing this for a long time, and they hear all the rumblings of what each of these franchises, which direction they could be leaning at this point in time. So I do think it's worthwhile to go through here on the show. I might do one more either tomorrow or on the second episode that I'm going to drop today. But of course, Scott Wheeler working for The Athletic, one of the biggest names in the scouting and prospect industry. So that makes it even more worthwhile, in my opinion, to break down his mock draft, since we're just getting closer and closer, Blackhawks fans. #1 overall for Scott Wheeler. Surprise, surprise, it's Macklin Celebrini. You're going to be hearing a lot of that. At number 2, Wheeler has the Blackhawks taking Artem Levshinov. That's 3 for 3 out of mock drafts that the Blackhawks have taken Levshinov with the 2nd overall pick. We've heard signs pointing in that direction. Scott Powers of The Athletic himself has said numerous times that he'd be shocked at this point if it wasn't Levshinov. It feels like it's, my brain is telling me it's going to be Levshinov. My heart wants it to be Ivan Demidov. And maybe they're meeting with Ivan and maybe seeing him as a bigger prospect and how filled out he was and his desire to come over to North America. Doesn't seem like there's any real concerns there. And now you've seen Matvei Michkov a year after being drafted. A big reason why he was pushed down to 7th overall and why teams didn't take him inside the top 5 was because of the Russian factor, and they were concerned if he was ever going to come over. Well, 1 year removed from that, less than 1 year removed from being drafted, he already has plans of coming over to North America. So maybe all of that combined will lead the Blackhawks to changing their minds, but admittedly, it does seem like Lev Shinov, like if I don't know if there's odds out for this yet. I've looked it up. It feels like Lev Shinov would be like minus 180, minus 200 as the betting favorite right now. At number 3, excuse me, Scott Wheeler has the Anaheim Ducks taking Anton Salayev. That's 3 for 3 in these mock drafts. Salayev going 3rd overall to the Anaheim Ducks, the big left-handed defenseman. I said the biggest wild card in this draft. Seems like that's what these scouts and analysts are thinking at this point in time, that the Ducks are going to be doing. Should Lev Shinov go off the board at number 2, would be a very tough pass for them on Demidov, and then Columbus here, according to Scott Wheeler, would take Ivan at number 4. At number 5, the Montreal Canadiens take Caden Lindstrom. That's 3 for 3 in these mock drafts, with Lindstrom going at number 5. At number 6, the Utah franchise takes Sam Dickinson. This is the first mock draft in which they didn't take Zeev Buium. At number 7, the Ottawa Senators take Zane Parekh, and we've seen them go a bunch of different ways. We've seen Beckett Seneca at this pick. We've seen Zeev Buium. We've now seen Zane Parekh. So feels like Ottawa could be leaning defenseman here. Which one? No idea. At number 8, the Seattle Kraken takes Zeev Buium. I feel like Utah or Seattle are the two perfect spots for Zeev. I really feel like one of those two teams are going to take him. At number 9, the Calgary Flames take Tej Aginla. The pressure will be on that front office if he's still available after the top 8. And then rounding things out in the top 10, the New Jersey Devils take Beckett Seneca. This is the furthest that he's fallen in the 3 mock drafts that I've covered, which I think encapsulates how high his stock has been booming over the last few weeks. At number 11, the Buffalo Sabres take Carter Yakimchuk. At number 12, the Flyers take Berkeley Catton. I continue to see Berkeley Catton falling out of the top 10 in these mock drafts. That feels very Zach Benson-like, and I promise you, I feel firmly on this. We're going to look back at that as a mistake in a few years' time. At number 13, should Berkeley Catton fall out of the top 10, I should say. At number 13, the Minnesota Wild take Konsta Helenius. At number 14, San Jose, excuse me, I said 15 earlier when I was going through my rankings. At number 14, San Jose takes Cole Yzerman. If they come out of this draft with Macklin Celebrini and Cole Yzerman, that is bananas. At number 15, the Detroit Red Wings take Michael Branzag-Nygaard. It really feels like if he's going to go in the top 15, it's going number 15 to the Detroit Red Wings and Stevie Yzerman. At number 16, the St. Louis Blues take Stian Solberg. Really feels like they could be leaning defenseman here between he and Adam Jiricek, who goes number 17 to the Washington Capitals. At number 18, the Blackhawks take Jet Luchenko, and this is the first mock or even first kind of rumblings I've seen of Luchenko going number 18 to the Blackhawks. You know, they like speed. You know, they like hard workers. That's what he provided for Guelph. So I don't think it's crazy, and I have Luchenko ranked, I think I had him ranked 22nd. Where exactly did I have? Yeah, I had him ranked 24th. So maybe a little bit of a reach to me for the Blackhawks at number 18, but I don't hate the player and the player profile. At number 19, Vegas takes Michael Hage. Number 20, the Islanders take Sasha Boisvert. At 21, the Los Angeles Kings take Trevor Connolly. I think that's a good value pick, but you know, there's a lot of concerns about Connolly. Wheeler did point out that the Kings have done their due diligence and homework on Connolly, so this does seem like a projected landing spot for him. At 22, the Nashville Predators take E.J. Emery. 23, the Maple Leafs take Liam Greentree. 24, Colorado selects Igor Chernyshov. 25, Ottawa selects Cole Baudouin. 26, the Montreal Canadiens select Dominic Budinka, who the Blackhawks were mocked at taking number 34, I want to say, by Corey Pronman. Number 27, the Carolina Hurricanes take Igor Shurin. 28, Calgary takes Dean Letourneau. 29, Dallas takes Ryder Ritchie. 30th, the Rangers take Charlie Ehrlich. 31st, the Anaheim Ducks take Adam Kleber. And 32nd, the Philadelphia Flyers select Sam O'Reilly, who I've seen in all of these mock drafts. He's, I think, gone between numbers 30 and numbers 32. As far as the Blackhawks' other picks in the second round, because Wheeler did do a top 64 mock draft, full 2-round mock draft, I should say. At number 34, he had the Blackhawks selecting Merrick Vanacker. That's a name that may sound familiar to some of you, as he was a teammate of prospect Nick Lardis's for the Brantford Bulldogs of the OHL this past season, who played a lot with Nick Lardis as well, put up some good offensive numbers there, so I certainly wouldn't hate it. And I have heard rumors that his draft stock is rising right now. And then at number 50, second mock draft in a row, last time we heard it from McKean's Hockey, this time from Scott Wheeler, the Blackhawks select John Mustard out of the Waterloo Blackhawks. I think that would be a fun name that Blackhawks fans would have fun with. So maybe I hope that one winds up coming true. But there is Scott Wheeler's 2024 NHL mock draft coming up in just a moment, Hawks fans. Before I wrap things up, I still have to get into the last Mailbag Monday that I'll be doing before the NHL draft gets underway this Friday. But first, I got to talk to you all real quick about eBay Motors. Passion, drive, and patience is what brings home the championship trophy, and it's also what keeps your ride or die alive. And eBay Motors has everything that you need to maintain your vehicle and to level it up to peak performance. From superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has got you covered. And with over 122 million parts to choose from, you'll always find what you're looking for. Plus, with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time, or else you'll get your money back. So, what are you waiting for? Go and check out ebaymotors.com, where you're burning rubber, not cash. Again, that's ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only and exclusions apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit is only available to U.S.-based customers. Back here on the Locked On Blackhawks podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Again, just a quick reminder to hit that like button, comment down below, and subscribe to the channel. Thank you all very much. And also, be sure to go and check out the new Locked On Sports Today, because Locked On has launched the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel on YouTube. And Locked On Sports Today is here for you 24/7, covering the top sports stories of the day with the local experts of Locked On, plus our national shows covering every single league. So make sure to go and check out Locked On Sports Today on YouTube, and to subscribe to the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel. One thing I noticed, just when I get into these talking modes and I get talking for 30 minutes, all this oxygen that I'm taking in, it always gives me the hiccups, man. So I apologize for all of you out there who have battled through that along with me. Segment 3 here, though, before I wrap things up, it's the last Mailbag Monday that I'll be doing before the NHL draft gets underway. I will be having another Mailbag Monday come out early Monday morning, but that's July 1st. That's when free agency is going to be going bananas, so it's going to come out real early. Make sure to stay tuned for that. But getting into the questions here, and again, a reminder, if you have a question that you want me to answer before free agency gets underway next Monday, make sure go and drop it down in the comment section right now. You can DM me on any one of my channels, or you can email lockdownblackhawks@gmail.com. Can't do the segment if you don't reach out with your questions, so please make sure to go and do all that, and I'll be sure to answer them this time next week live on the show. All right, first question that I wanted to get to here today comes from @RylanWilliams_5 on X, who asked, what underrated prospects in the system do you think have a shot to develop into a top 6 role? The first one that comes to mind is undoubtedly Nick Lardis, who I had ranked number 12 in my Chicago Blackhawks top 20 summer 2024 top 20 prospects ranking. And some people were saying, oh, that's too low. Nick Lardis has top 6 upside. I agree. And this was one reason why I mentioned numbers 7 through 12 or 7 through 13 in my prospect rankings were all really close. And you can kind of jumble those prospects around any way that you kind of preface, or any way that you kind of see it fit. It depends from person to person, I think, because all those prospects are super close. But I admittedly said this could be a ranking for Nick Lardis that we look back at in a couple of years and you say, Jack, why did you have Nick Lardis ranked this low? Because he undoubtedly has top 6 upside if things go well, but he is undersized. He definitely has to gain weight. He definitely has to get stronger. He has the speed and the offensive ability, but that doesn't always necessarily translate. I mean, Dylan Sakura had the same skill set as well. I mean, it's just hard to transfer that over to the NHL, and there are some concerns about Lardis, what he provides away from the puck. But undeniably, if he goes right, if he develops properly these next few years, he could be a top 6 piece. So Nick Lardis is the one that absolutely comes to my mind. I think Ryan Green could be a top 6 piece. I don't know if he's ever going to have the offensive abilities to do it, but I think he could be a very good two-way center type of player. I feel like he's going to play center at the next level, but just kind of depends on the depth in the situation. Maybe he gets moved to the wing. Um, I would also probably throw Gavin Hayes. I think could be in that boat because of his goal scoring ability. I think his playmaking is a little bit capped, but he's got decent wheels, really strong shot, and someone who kind of offers himself as valuable in some different ways, like how he was utilized for the United States at the World Juniors. I actually was encouraged to see him take on that type of role. So I would say Nick Lardis, Gavin Hayes, and Ryan Green are the type of under the radar-ish prospects that I think could be big pieces of the forward group in the future. Next question comes from at Danny Ruert on X, who asked, Guyan or Comesso, goalie of the future? It's Drew Comesso for me. Guyan is absolutely younger, and there's going to be a lot of time until we see him even at the professional level, let alone the NHL. But I've been along and on the Comesso train ever since they drafted him, man. Such great experience. He's shined everywhere that he's been. Great first year of pro hockey with Rockford. I'm going with Drew Comesso. Next question comes from Quinn Weasley 34, who emailed in the podcast and asked, if you had the 4th overall pick, who would you select? Assuming Celebrini, Demidov, and Levshinov are off the board. This is a very good question. Kind of depends what your team needs, what your team's looking for. The guys who I would throw in that situation, though, Caden Lindstrom, I think absolutely has to be in there. Zeev Buium, I would throw in that conversation because of his game-breaking abilities. I'd probably lean those two, even though I have Berkeley Catton ranked 4th. Catton would be my 3rd thrown in there. I would understand why teams would pass on him because of the lack of size. I think Lindstrom's frame as a forward, along with having good speed and good wheels, probably makes him intriguing to another team. So, yeah, it would be a very tough spot to be in, assuming those 3 go top 3. I'd go Caden Lindstrom, though, probably. Next question comes from at PolDare9765, who also emailed in the podcast and said, which free agents do you think the Blackhawks are targeting? Well, I have posted videos of the free agent goalies, the free agent defensemen, and the free agent forwards that I think the Blackhawks should go and pursue. If there's someone in particular you're thinking of right now as you're watching this, go and drop their name down in the comment section. Among the forwards, I think Matt Duchene makes a lot of sense. I like Chandler Stevenson. Tyler Toffoli could make sense. Mags Domi as well. Anthony Mantha. Tyler Bertuzzi. Anthony Duclair. Teuvo Teravainen. I wouldn't love, but he's someone who could be on their radar. Jonathan Marchessault, maybe, if he'd be willing to take a short-term deal. But I think those are the type of guys that the Blackhawks are looking to add to their top 6 or top 9. And on defense as well, Ben Pope of the Chicago Sun-Times just released an article a couple of days ago saying the Blackhawks are looking for 2 top 9 forwards and another top 4 defensemen as well, preferably on the right side, since, as I talked about, Connor Murphy just hasn't been reliable enough. Even when he is healthy, which hasn't been very often, he hasn't been good enough out there on the ice. So I would like to see the Blackhawks go after a Brett Pesce or a Chris Tanev or maybe a Alexander Carrier on the free agent market this year to shore up things a little bit on the right side. Those are the guys among the forwards and goalies that I think are realistic that the Blackhawks could target. Next question from at PHHDVM on YouTube, who asked, question, I see endless trade possibilities in the press, but they're only half of the trade. Most of these articles don't say who the Hawks would give in return. If they make a splash to bring in a top 6 forward, who would you be willing to see go the other way? All right. I've thrown up kind of hypotheticals like this before. Marty Necas. Let's talk about what it would take for the Blackhawks to get Marty Necas. And remember, the Vancouver Canucks were needing to have Elias Pettersson in that trade in order to get the stamp on it from the Carolina Hurricanes to make that swap for Marty Necas. So that kind of tells you what they're looking for. They want big-time help right here, right now in exchange for Marty Necas. Blackhawks just don't really have a ton of that. In order to make that type of deal work, I think the 18th overall pick probably has to be in there. Lucas Reichel, Philip Kurashev, is that even enough to take on Marty Necas? Probably not, from what we're hearing Carolina wants in return. Now, maybe it reaches a point that they're never going to get a type of trade offer that they're exactly looking for. And maybe they have to kind of lower their expectations of a return potentially. I still just don't think the Blackhawks have enough tools to necessarily intrigue Carolina when they're wanting a piece that'll help them right here, right now. The Blackhawks just don't have a whole heck of a lot of that. So, yeah, that's kind of the difficulty in the Blackhawks making a big splash right here, right now via the trade market. Well, what can they really offer up other than picks and prospects? In order to move prospects, Kyle Davidson's going to have to be okay with that. And I don't know necessarily if he's going to be with the higher end prospects that he's drafted, as we're still very early into this rebuild. Last but certainly not least, didn't want to forget about this one, comes from Dak2515. I believe it's Dakota on X, who's been asking me for months about the black jerseys. And I just completely forgot about this, Dakota. I really, really do apologize. The question was black alt jersey tee spill. Anything. Thank you regardless. Love the content. I love the support, Dakota. I apologize for leaving you hanging on this question for probably like 2 months. It just, every time I go back and look at questions, somehow it just got buried by the comments. I apologize on that front. I don't have the biggest news, unfortunately, on this, but I have heard whispers that next year they are going to be coming back. I know we heard those rumblings from Jamie Faulkner when she was on CHGO Blackhawks early, I think in training camp or the preseason last year. We obviously didn't wind up seeing them. I think they are going to be making a comeback this year. I don't think it's going to be like what they're going to be rocking during the Winter Classic. I think it might be a different type of jersey for that, but I'm hoping the whispers that I've got are correct. The Blacks, keeping my fingers crossed, will be back at the UC here this season. But that's going to wrap up today's episode of Locked On Blackhawks. As always, thank you all again for joining me on the show. Be sure to go and follow Locked On Blackhawks for free right now, wherever you may be listening to your podcast, and to subscribe to Locked On Blackhawks on YouTube. That way you can get the latest episode as soon as it's available each and every day. As always, I'm your host, Jack Bushman. Go and follow your boy on X at Jack Bushman2. Check out my strictly Blackhawks account at Talkin' Hockey for all the latest Blackhawks news and updates. So until the next episode, which it's about 6:30 here right now. I'm going to try to have one out probably around 11 or midnight here. I need to go and make dinner, kind of de-stress. I did work this afternoon as well, but I'm not going to let you all down with the draft coverage. This is going to be your one-stop shop for the Blackhawks at the NHL Draft during free agency. I got you all covered. Until the next episode, everyone stay safe. I'll see you on the next episode of Locked On Blackhawks, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.